Welcome to Relish Books. Today I'm talking about The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This is a book that I really, really love. I thought that I'd actually already made a video about it, but I searched through all my videos. I can't find it. I think I must have just mentioned it at some point in another video. It is not the kind of thing that I normally read or review, in that it's meant for younger audiences. It's kind of a fantasy-ish, although it doesn't really have a specific genre, which I really like. And Neil Gaiman also is, I think, a very hit or miss author. He's very capable, but most of his stuff just doesn't quite hit the mark for me. This book, for what it is, judging it for what it is, for what it's trying to achieve, is an almost perfect novel, I think. So I'm just going to talk about that a little bit today. What is so special about The Graveyard Book is the feeling that you get when you read it. The story is very simple, but it's so well executed. And it has this feeling of mystery and excitement, and like you don't quite know what everything is and everything that's going on, but not in a frustrating way. There's a very fine line between being vague and being mysterious. And when an author is vague, where it feels like they're not giving you all the details because they don't know them, that's bad writing. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like he's being mysterious because that's how he wants the book to feel. You feel like he absolutely knows all the details, and he's just only letting you see these shadowy glimpses of things. And it's almost like that's how you feel, that it's shadowy, that it's mysterious, even though really he does let you know pretty much everything. Like the things that you pinpoint, if you're like, okay, that feels mysterious, you actually do know kind of what's going on if you think about it. But the whole book has this sense of mystery, this sense of dark shadowiness, but without feeling bad. It has a good feeling too, especially the first half of the book. The first half of the book is really exciting, really fun. It just has a really great feel. The second half is a lot more, for me, I think of the book kind of in three parts. And the first part is really great, really exciting. The middle part, still good, but it's starting to have this little bit of like, things are changing. There's this sense of sadness almost. And then the third part really changes the feeling a lot. And it's, for me, it feels very sad, especially the end. Not sad though, in like just kind of in a nostalgic way, because it's kind of a fantasy. It's kind of a growing up story. It's kind of a coming of age, but obviously in a very unusual setting. It's about this boy who's adopted by a graveyard of ghosts who raise him. So his community, his family, are ghosts. And that's such a cool idea because, there's so many things you could explore with that. And I feel like he didn't, the author didn't go too far with that. He explored some of those things, but he also didn't go overboard. That's kind of just like, yeah, this is the setting, and you just accept that. But in and of itself, that makes it there's kind of this sadness and this anomaly because he's growing up, but his whole family, his whole community stays the same forever. And they have their same routine, and they're limited to their place. And so it's this whole idea of a living boy living in a graveyard, walking the borderline between the living and the dead. But it's done in such a fun way. He doesn't get overly dramatic with that idea or take it too far. He keeps it as a simple, fun story. Again, very exciting. The adventures in the first part of the book are my favorite. The Dance of the Dead, probably my favorite chapter. Just such a great, great, almost like a gothic feeling, but in a positive way, if that's possible, which I think just makes it a very special book. I think it's really unique. The ideas in it, not unique, but he takes these ideas and he makes them feel really clever. The Jacks of all trade, this organization that feels mysterious, but again, not too vague. You know just enough that you're satisfied. It doesn't feel too random. I think it's really clever. Silas, great character. It's like, okay, you know what he is. As a reader, you're like, okay, I know what he is. But then there are these little things that you're like, am I right? And then you're like, no, I know what he is. But it never actually says. So, like, what kind of creature he is, but it doesn't actually tell you. And I really like that. Plus, he's just a great character. I think the relationship between him and Bod and, again, this overlapping of worlds is what makes the book so fun. Really good characters. It's really funny. And even though it's dark and, like, his family was murdered, there's this group of people who are out there trying to find him and kill him. And there's this sense of sadness as he's growing up, as he's going to have to leave behind his whole, community, his whole family, everything he's known, like, for forever. There's all this darkness and sadness, and yet the book manages to still be pretty light. It's a very light, fun read for the most part. And while still being light, it still touches on emotional things in just a really simple but powerful way. So it's a fantastic book, I think, for pretty much all ages. Obviously not for, like, little children, but middle grade upward, super, super good. Neil Gaiman's best book, for sure. I haven't read all of them, but I think I can safely say that because I don't think he could execute anything better than he has in this one. I have read Stardust. Was such a disappointment to me because it's so good. It's so well written. I love that feeling of kind of similar to this, even though totally different, feels like a totally different setting. But he has this way of making it feel like a fairy tale, but somehow not really in that genre. Like, it just feels like good literature. His writing is really good. The thing that I hated about Stardust was, for whatever reason, he wanted to market it to adults. And it really felt to me, this might not have actually been what he was doing, but it really felt to me like he was like, okay, this is a fairy tale, but I want to market it to adults, so I'll just randomly throw in a couple things that will make it not okay for children. It's really what it felt like. So there was just, like, totally random, strong language, totally random intimate scenes, which those did play a part in the story. And this is the thing that I always have a problem with those kind of things. It's like, yes, they played an important part of the story. I don't mind them being in the story at all, but I don't need to see it described. Especially in a book like that, which just felt like a fairy tale in every other way. But yeah, that book could have been so good, but for me, he kind of ruined it. Coraline, I read. I didn't like it. For me, it just felt dark. It was dark without having still that lightheartedness that, like, the Graveyard Book does. It just felt dark and creepy, and I don't know. I did not like the way that it made me. I didn't like the way it made me feel. So yeah, I didn't hate it, but I don't like it. And Neverwhere, I tried to read and quit. I think it was one of his earlier books. So the writing is just not there yet. The characters were all unpleasant. And again, he was marketing it to adults, so it's got some stuff. And I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't need to be reading it. So I didn't finish that one. But all that to say, The Graveyard Book, incredible. If you haven't read it, go read it. No matter what kind of books you like. I think it is a really special book that I think, I think it is popular, but I think it could be overlooked for being as special as it is. I think it is underrated. So those are my thoughts on The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.